In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right. It is time for Trilogy Outdoors podcast once again this week. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and everything else to all of you out there in Podcastville. We are hanging out in the Trilogy Outdoors podcast studio at the Senator's house, who Senator got an incredible dinner last night, and it was so good that he invited his chef to join us on the podcast today. And we do have a super special guest join us, and we're going to talk a little bit more fins today on the show.
Yeah, it reminds me of something, Inglis.
What's that?
We haven't done our annual, it's becoming an annual now. We haven't done our annual, it was either holiday or Christmas, because we might have done it between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Our annual trivia.
You're right, our game of trivia.
Game of trivia with me.
With you versus
Lucas and you, all teamed up together against me.
And Jason. Hang on, Jason.
And Jason, all teamed up against me, 3 against 1.
You swear that I helped them. I did not help them. They will tell you the honest truth. I did not help them. What did we let everybody know the questions prior. That's it, right? Didn't we?
No.
Or did we not? No, we didn't even release the questions.
No, the questions weren't released.
And there was. So I remember there was. I think you may have.
I was
I'm trying to think of a lawyer term for what you did, but you did. You did think at one point in time that we may have been cheating you a little bit there at the end, and that our calculation of points may have been off.
I ended up losing by 1.
1 point.
1 point on a I think the question was, name as many duck species or family, whatever. Name as many ducks as you can name.
Yep.
Okay, which I'm like, I got through like 8 and then I'm like, or 10, and I'm like, I started getting stumped. And Lucas comes up with 1 more than me.
Yep.
Which put him 1 over.
Right.
Which I thought I was like 2 or 3 over before that.
You had a 2-point lead. Hey, I'm trying to remember how it worked out. Because going into the final question, the massive point question, you had a lead, or somebody had a lead. I think it was you, man.
I had a lead.
You had the lead of 2 points.
Yeah.
And they ended up with, because remember, it was extra points for whatever. So they ended up with 1 point more. However it works out. But yeah. I call it a tie. We're all fine with calling it a tie.
No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with a tie.
We're all kind.
We're gonna have to have a rematch here.
I agree, and I'm sure Lucas would be all up to it. He
and you did a great job coming up with questions. By the way, the questions were fair.
We based it on. We tried to do a question from from every show.
Yeah,
throughout the year.
Yeah, the questions were fair. I thought they were relevant. They were good, except for the last one, which sucked.
Well, how about even despite a struggle through the summer? Which, by the way, anybody that's listening, y'all can go over and listen. We got another podcast that we had some great episodes. Now, listen, please understand that it is rated R. Okay, it is. I just want to tell you that it is not for kids. But Captain's Felonious Reports, and one of our loyal Captain's Felonious Reports listeners reached out to Stephen yesterday, and that is the world champion arm wrestler, my good buddy Ike Ford.
Yeah, he did. He reached out. He wants to talk about arm wrestling.
Yes, we have talked about that. Ike is an animal. After we did the World's Strongest Man, going back through this year, we did the World's Strongest Man. Ike was like, you need to do something with arm wrestling. And I actually started following him. You do know that he wears a Trilogy hat when he arm wrestles.
Does he?
Yes, he does. He wears a Trilogy hat, and he flips between Captain's Polonius and Trilogy. But I went back and watched videos. What they do is incredible. Like we're talking 300-pounders versus 300-pounders and so forth, so on. But how they judge that little bit of movement as much as they're working on each other, and how the judge can keep that, the wrist has to stay in a certain position and everything else. But he's an animal. They're all beasts. They're beasts.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get up in the gym and get ready for him.
It would have to be a left arm, right?
No, I'm going right arm if I'm going.
Okay.
Going all in.
I'm going all in. Yeah, I got to get back in shape here.
I think I may be wrong, but Ike said that he has been known to arm wrestle both ways. Ike, you go both ways. I know it, buddy. he has been known to wrestle both ways. But another loyal listener of Captain's Polonius Sports. That's where I was going with this. But anyway, if we did do trivia, we now have 76 episodes to go back and go through.
Jeez. Oh, her name, by the way, is Bronwyn.
Bronwyn.
I don't know.
And just so anybody that wonders, that happens to be our one and only Russell Fry, Representative Russell Fry's wife, and had a great time last Saturday night at a Christmas function with them, and got to get into Russell's ear a little bit on fishing and fisheries. And, he every time I'm in an environment where he's at, he always loves to listen. And there happened to be 5 other captains there who, he was really genuine and listened to everybody. And
did y'all get a chance to talk about SAFMC?
Yes, we did. I think that is exactly where we were. We were with NOAA, which is the governing body for SAFMC, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, unfortunately, we all know we all know the presidency that is running all those.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but we did want to make sure that he did get to see your video of red snapper under the water, which we both know because he contacted you about. I think.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah,
we talked about it for a while, and I don't think there's anybody that I have ever talked to other than folks at SAFMC and NOAA that dispute the fact that red snapper are overrunning us and killing our reefs. They're absolutely eating the sea bass out of house and home, and anything else, juvenile gags, they're going to eat it, right? The bait species for gags and scamps, they're going to eat it. Black sea bass, they're going to eat them, and so we got to get a hold on this. This is no longer a question of conservation for the red snapper species. This is now a quest for conservation of the other species around red snapper.
Right.
And, the SAFMC is at least 5 years behind the curve on this. And by the time we get some successes, they may be 10 years behind the curve. And that may be too late for gag, or that may be too late for black sea bass. But we got to keep pushing. Anybody
that's wondering how important November is, let me just tell you, it's important, y'all. Yeah. It is super important. It is very important. Please, please, please. I'm telling you now, here we are at the end of 23, but make sure in November you go to the polls, please. And while you're there, by the way, vote for Stephen Goldfinch, Senator Stephen Goldfinch.
Thank you so much.
We would appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
By the way, we're in the works on a flounder fundraiser, just so you know. We in the past, it's been successful. You reached out to me, and the financial part of it's great. It's a fundraiser for you, but also I heard that the women enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
A couples flounder tournament.
Yeah.
So we do have that in the works, and I've got some great help. A couple of our great listeners are all going to be helping, and we're gonna have some good food. I can tell you that. Whether the fishing sucks or not, we're going to eat good.
I heard Jacob's cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll be great, and we need to consider adding a sushi table.
I think so. After talking to this next guest, that I'm super excited to have on the show today. I thought he was. I figured he would be a call-in. I did. I figured, come on, dude. Old boy ain't getting up. If he does, he's going to sit there in the living room and call in.
Oh no, I got to show up in person.
We got Tiger Thompson. Let's name. What's the name of the company?
Tiger's Den Sushi.
Tiger's Den Sushi.
Yes, sir.
The winner of the best sushi roll in the universe.
And that's coming from
Us.
that is coming from a connoisseur.
It's all about love, man, and just caring about what you do, because
Yeah.
it's not around anymore like it used to be, especially in the kitchen.
We had you cater, Tiger. We had you cater. I don't know how many people we had last night. With kids, it was probably a lot, over 20 at least.
Oh, really? Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, over 20, I would think, with kids. But did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
We started with like a miso soup, which is a real miso soup, right? And that was fish head, bones, and everything to get down to the stock.
Yeah, so I make I make my miso with the kombu stock, and then if I use any local fish for the menu, I try to use the whole thing because I don't like waste at all with anything like that. So
Yeah.
you kind of left it open to me. So last night I grabbed a American red snapper and a flounder, and after I broke them down, I took all the head, spine, tail, everything, just threw it in a pot and made like a stock with some, carrot, celery, onion, and then some Asian ingredients to kind of add that little bit of a more Asian side of flavor to it. And I like to combine the two because I think just like a miso paste it's a good soup, but it's not something where you're using a local fish and using that stock where you get that more rich, fatty flavor from it at the end with all the natural oils that come along with it. So,
all right. Well, I want to get this. Out of the way right in the beginning before we get too deep into sushi. You're a white guy,
yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're straight up white cracker,
Yep.
Dude, I thought you had to be Asian to do sushi.
just like me. And do you ever get any pushback from anybody like, "Well, you're a white guy"?
Dude. So that was actually one of the challenges, even getting to roll sushi. When I got out of the military, my buddy was working at the sushi bar. He's Chinese, half Chinese, 6'1". So if you see him, it throws you off a little bit, but he was my best friend growing up, and when I got back, he was working at the sushi bar. I wanted to, and it took me about 2 months of convincing just to even get in, and a year of only cutting vegetables and cooking rice for the most part. So when I did start rolling, I was just doing the simple stuff, and went up to Atlanta, and finding a job there was almost a joke because people would laugh when I walked in.
Really?
But when they see your knives and they do a little test run with you, I would show them instantly kind of where I was at, and it would change your minds very quickly. And then you would see it through the customers. So I'd get into the sushi bar eventually, and I'd be rolling sushi and working next to, I've worked with any Thai, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Vietnamese. I've worked with a bunch of different ethnicities, and it's really cool to see the difference of how they roll and the ingredients that sometimes they use differently. And it's just funny because you get this old dude that comes up to the bar, and he's like, "What's the white boy doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna roll you sushi today, man." And he's like, I don't know if I want you to roll it." He's like, I don't know if you make good sushi. I don't know about this. I might have to leave now. And I'd always make a joke or something, but when the chefs would see that, they would normally let me do it without the customer, realizing it, and I would put a little extra flair on it, and they would always be super impressed, and they would think it was the head chef or something like that, and he'd point at me. He rolled it.
Well, despite your whiteness, you did very well. You did very well. You did very well for us last night. The sushi was wonderful.
Thank you, man.
We had a great time.
I enjoyed it too, and it's honestly, I'm trying to put more of a Southern style to it as well. Instead of it just being a Japanese cuisine, I want it to be like Southern Japanese cuisine, because that's kind of what I've grown up on. Is
well, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. So this community that listens to us, a lot of fishermen, and a lot of fishermen. The appeal, other than the fun of the fishing, is the eating of the fish afterwards. At least some species.
Yep.
And I'm not a prepper. I'm not. If you're looking at this, this scale from left to right of like non-prepper. I'm not over here on the far right, and I'm not over here on the far left.
Yeah, don't let all the guns in the background fool you.
Right. I mean, I have guns. I like to eat my own meat, but I'm not one of these crazy guys. But I enjoy the idea of being able to kill an elk or a deer or a fish and take it home and eat it and feed it to my family. I like that idea. I don't have any problem going out for a steak.
yeah.
wherever at Outback tomorrow night. But I like the idea, and I'd love to incorporate it even more. I wish I could eat wild game or fish every day of the week. It's just not practical for us, okay? So
it's more natural of a feeling.
It is. It feels good, right? I mean, I guess it's sort of like I don't eat a lot of organic food either, but if I could eat a lot of organic food, it would feel good. I'm not sure it makes any bit of a difference. But it feels good, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I guess my point is a lot of people on this podcast and on the radio show and on the other podcast like to eat their own fish. I would like to get into into a party at some point in time where we provided all the fish and you did all the sushi.
Yeah.
And that seems to me like a niche that a lot of fishermen would love to get into, is eating their own sushi that they caught that day or the day before, right? You got to freeze it 24 hours, right?
Yeah, so we'll –
Oh, this was going to be my question, because you just hit me with something before when you and I were talking earlier. You hit me something I had no idea about. So yeah, please go into details on this, because I had no idea.
You don't have to
in the sushi bar. What?
You don't have to, right? That's just sort of a DHEC rule if you're eating it out of a restaurant.
It's more for like transportation purposes. Like if you're, so you've been fishing tuna. Most of your tuna you get from North Carolina. When you bring it back to the dock, you're not selling it locally. No. You're selling it to a Japanese dude that's going to fly it right back to Japan. It's going to go to the tuna market, and they're going to grade it there. So when it gets to that tuna market, it might even be at the harbor there where they have a setup. They have to put it through this, like, what they call a super freezer, which it blast chills the fish super quickly to a certain temperature to kill all the parasites, bacteria in it. You can leave it in it, and it starts to damage the meat throughout the process, but really it's just a quicker process of just getting rid of anything that can really harm you inside it. They send it over to Japan. It's fresh once it gets there, and then, they sell it as is. I mean, even sometimes when we would get tuna in, just the abundance of it, if we didn't go through it fast enough, we just throw it in the freezer. It doesn't damage the meat as long as you don't keep it in there too long.
Yeah.
Because too long, then you get the water cells that all add up inside it, and then the meat just kind of turns into this weird fatty texture.
Yep.
So, I mean, even like your salmon, even if it's fresh from Scotland, Alaska, tuna, most of it has been completely frozen just to kill all the parasites and the bacteria that are inside it itself, so that you're able to like eat it raw. Because I mean, even if I go fishing down in the inlet and I catch a flounder, like me and my buddy, when we used to go and he lived here, we'd fillet the flounder right there and just snack on some of it, especially if it's the cold season where it's not like super hot outside and we're getting some good stuff. Like we'll eat it right then, and it is some of the best style that I've had, because it was weird growing up here and fishing for all that stuff, and I never thought of the sushi relation to it until I went to Atlanta, which in Atlanta they were getting these omakase boxes, and it was full of sea bass, American red snapper, flounder.
What's omakase?
Omakase is just kind of chef choice.
Oh, okay.
So it's when you order the box, it's whatever they have fresh for that like you get it 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how your clientele is, how much you run through. So we would just get like, if it was a flounder, it'd be one nice size, maybe 6 to like 7 pound flounder. You get like 3 small vermilion, maybe 2 American red. We got an eel one time, which blew my mind. Sweet prawns, scallops, uni. There's so many, a big selection, even swordfish too, that is here locally sourced, but they're just importing it to a different state.
Right.
And we're serving it on a menu where here you can't even go to a place and find flounder, American red snapper, or like all this fresh ingredient on a menu.
Yeah, it's hard to find local stuff on a menu here, which is crazy to me. I mean, English. Do you remember English?
It happens all the time.
Not to me.
Not to you, but it does. It's okay.
English. Do you remember I had this movement a few years ago? What did I call it? I called it, it was the Eat Local, Fresh Seafood. What did I call that movement? We had commercials and everything. Department of Ag put it up on billboards. Eat Local? That's not right.
Eat Local, I don't know, but it sounds like a great program.
It was called Truth and Seafood. Truth and Seafood. So basically, One of the problems that I kept running into in a lot of the
was fish that was being sold as hang on, I might be wrong. Fish being sold as a different species.
Yeah, that's right. You'd get fresh local shrimp on the menu, and it was Asian farmed shrimp is what the real. And you'll see it a lot with red. I saw it the other night at a local restaurant. A local restaurant the other night, they called it red snapper, and it was a vermilion. It was a beeliner, right? So anyway, a lot of local. You can definitely tell the difference. A lot of local restaurants will do that. They'll fly their fish in from wherever. It'll be frozen in a box from wherever. It's not fresh. It's not local. And I just found that it's like, to me, that's fraud.
Oh, it's 100% fraud.
If I'm paying for a fresh fillet of grouper and it ends up being, it wouldn't be tilapia, but maybe it would be some Asian species that sort of resembles grouper, but it's half the cost. To me, that's fraud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying for something I expect to get what I'm paying for. I don't expect to get Asian grouper. I expect to get black, scamp, or gag at the minimum.
Absolutely.
At the minimum, I expect to get gag, right? Hopefully, I'm getting scamp or black grouper or snowy.
And that's where I worked with one of the dudes that was running most of the outsourcing of the fish locally to the restaurants around here.
Yeah, pull that back up. There you go.
I was working with one of the dudes that was sourcing all the fish locally to the restaurants, especially during, before quarantine. He had told me he was sourcing at least 30 to 40 restaurants with local fish, down here. And after quarantine, things changed so much, they went to 6 to 8.
Yeah.
So if you can go to these restaurants down here and guess which 6 to 8 restaurants are serving local fish, or even have that it's local catch.
Yep.
I mean, it's like a hit or a miss. It's winning the lottery to a certain extent. So it's like you said, it's fraud.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you say fresh local or fresh catch, or even on the sushi stuff where it says fresh and it's all frozen for the most part. The whole saku block, everything is frozen, so you can't call it fresh.
I went to. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you could go.
I went to a Low Country Boil a few nights ago, and it was a couple weekends ago, I guess it was. And the guy that invited us was bragging. He went to the fish market and he got all these local shrimp. And I was looking at the shrimp, and they're all the size of your forearm and red, bright red, uncooked, right? Bright red, no joke, about 7 inches long, 6 to 7 inches. Look at these jumbo, and they're bright red. They're obviously the Argentinian or whatever, the big prawns that they catch down in South America. And I didn't say anything because I was invited there, right? That would be rude of me to say something. But clearly he thought he was buying fresh local shrimp. He isn't from here. He doesn't know any better.
Yep.
But to me, I think that's fraud. That's total fraud. And getting back to what I was, what this originally was about, I love the idea of sourcing my own fish for food, but I love the idea of sourcing my own fish for sushi party. I think that's real appealing to a lot of people.
I do too, and that's what I was asking him, and he was telling me about the freeze. That's when you told me about the freeze process, and it sounds to me it's almost like cryo freezing. Is that the correct terminology of how to freeze it that fast?
Flash freezing.
Flash freezing.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's just it's like your freezer on steroids that you have.
Yeah.
So it just does it super quick. It gets really into the meat to kill everything the way it's supposed to. So it's something that I didn't even learn until I kind of got farther into it, and I just thought everything had come out of the ocean and got served straight to the restaurant like that, and it was a whole learning curve because even y'all know if you look at eyes and gills of a fish, it'll tell you how fresh it is.
Oh yeah.
But all these fish are showing up, beautiful eyes, beautiful gills, and I'm like, this is insane. To come out of the water and this thing is still this pretty, that's kind of mind blowing, and that's where they're like, oh yeah, they froze it. It's been frozen once.
So when I look at a fish for freshness, I'm looking. I do the same thing. Is his eyes got milky look to it?
Yep.
Are his gills purple or?
Yeah, purpley red around the gills.
Yep.
What are you looking for? Same thing?
Yeah, same thing. Essentially, I look for a very clear eye. Eye is the bigger giveaway because if the eye has been cloudy, then I know more or less the gills are gonna look a little.
Yeah.
I look for a deep red whenever I look for the gills, like that blood red, like it's still like vibrant. If it's starting to turn like a gray wash to it, then I've known that it's been like 2 to 3 days it's been out of the water. Because normally at like a day or two, you still got that clear eye on it.
Yeah.
Nice clear eye, good gills, not a strong fish smell coming from it at all.
Yeah.
So it's just, even like the salmon's a whole. I don't even touch salmon. Period. I don't. Yeah, I won't eat salmon at all.
I don't.
Just because
I'm not a big fan of salmon and sushi.
I'm not either.
Yeah. And I think that might go back to I'm not. You can cook a salmon where it's good, and I'll tell you honestly, Costco's got a good salmon.
Yep, they do.
Like that garlic butter on top of that salmon that they do. They've got a good salmon. But I don't never eat salmon in sushi. And I don't know why that is, but I feel like, I try to eat local fish as much as possible. And obviously, there's a buddy, Rick. Everybody knows Rick, right? Rick was with us. This was a couple years ago, and I wish I could tell you the restaurant. But he brings it up every single time. The fresh local fish on the menu, it was salmon.
Are you kidding me?
No joke. And Rick exploded on the guy. Tell me where the salmon was caught off of South Carolina.
Yes.
And I was just I was laughing about this. And he brings it up every single time we go to a restaurant. I wonder if they got fresh local salmon. Can you believe that?
Well, it's like them saying that the halibut is fresh and local.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
give me a break, man. Come on.
When I had to say that to people, I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell you real quick. I'm like, these two are local. This is not local. It says it is, but it's not.
Not.
How you don't catch that here.
Is halibut decent sushi fish?
I don't know. I just look at halibut as just a giant flounder, so I'd rather just use flounder than halibut any day of the week. People love halibut. I don't see really the craze about it. I'm more of like a triggerfish. I love triggerfish now.
Oh, boy.
Triggerfish has got a good. How about, so I got into, a couple of years ago, I got into deep dropping. I love deep dropping. I love those cold, deep water fish. They come up ice cold.
Yep.
Right? And they are so good. Just about everything you catch in 400 to 1,000 feet of water is so good to eat. And so we're getting snowy grouper,
Tile.
We're getting tile fish, blue line and golden tile. We're getting barrel fish, which is what I really wanted to talk about. We're getting, what else are we getting offshore? Yellow edge.
Yep.
I guess. Obviously swordfish when you get out to the swordfish grounds. But all of those fish, ice cold because, they're in 35-degree water, in 1,000 feet of water. Ice cold, the most beautiful translucent white meat you've ever seen on fish, and barrel fish, unbelievable taste in a fish, deep water fish, but the most slimy fish I've ever touched in my life.
Now, that was going to be a question I had about the fish. You were talking about the eyes, the gills. How about the exterior? And then we'll go, because I want to hear about this barrel fish, because I hear everybody says that it's some of the best deep water fish there is.
Yeah, delicious meat.
But the slime on it, does that, if you get a fish in?
Normally, if it's got that clear eye and beautiful gills,
you're good. You don't worry about that.
There's normally not a slime to it. If there's a slime, and normally I could just look at the eyes and gills and know that it's gonna have that effect to it.
Yep.
Because it's reached that stage. If you get one that's got that, just clear image to it, you're not gonna have so much like more or less slime on it until you get like different fish like that come like even the blobfish I think it is, or no, not blobfish, rockfish I think we get out here, those weird looking ones. They got the crazy looking mouth on it.
Oh, the ugly, yeah.
Toadfish.
Like a toadfish, basically.
Yeah, they come out slimy as hell too. So it's just
they're toadfish, and they're. You've done a toadfish on sushi?
No, I caught one.
Oh,
like, when
I was going to say, holy
crap!
I
thought about doing monkfish because I saw it the other day, and
I heard monkfish is great.
Yeah.
You've had it.
Oh yeah, monkfish is good.
Yeah.
Really, what it comes down to eating it raw is their diet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You were getting
all their
ready. If you would have just said that toadfish tasted good in sushi,
we would have had to cut the podcast off.
We would have shut down and started over. But also, you were going to make about 200 charter fishermen really, really happy.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because
found something to do with it.
Yeah.
Because when they start getting, hey, you got to try these. They're great for sushi.
Great for sushi. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not cleaning it.
cut the loin out, and that's great.
Hey, y'all are going to give me a little experiment now. I got to go try to catch one again to see what I can do with it.
Puffer fish.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. I do know that. I actually, just recently in the last month, I watched a commercial fisherman walk up the dock on the marsh walk with a green sack that sounded like a bag of rubber balloons rubbing against each other. It was a bag of puffer fish, and they were all blown up and little, I think 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it. He could not wait. And what he does is cuts 2 strips out the back of them.
Yeah.
That's where the meat is, on the back of them, and they said it's unbelievable.
So are all of them poisonous? Do you have to have specialized training for that? I don't know.
So that's where
That's the other thing.
pufferfish, if anyone ever bought me a pufferfish, I won't do it just because it's such a fragile topic.
Yeah.
Because even in Japan, there's a certain one that you have to train for 12 years just to be able to even get the certificate to be able to cut it. Because the thing about it is their ink sac or the whatever poisonous sac is in that one, especially I think it's the fugu, I think it's what it's called. It's clear liquid. So if you cut it, you'll never know.
Yeah.
And it'll kill you. So it's just like
Yeah.
it's weird. Some pufferfish, I mean, it won't have that, but I'm not familiar enough with pufferfish yet to understand their whole build and breakdown. So
It's Botox, right? I mean, so your whole body ingests a bunch, 100 times what it's supposed to. Botox. Your whole body gets paralyzed, and your diaphragm paralyzes. You can't breathe, and you die. It's a great way to go. Eating sushi, I suppose.
yeah.
But there's so many good. What I was getting at with the barrelfish, there's so many good species out there that we catch because it's sort of a novelty, I guess. We catch, you hardly ever see them on a commercial boat or coming off of a commercial boat, but they are just delicious. I mean, hogfish, same way. Right?
Yeah.
Hogfish is the same way. They eat lobster. I mean, that's all they eat. Just about all that they'll eat is lobster, and some crustaceans. But they'll eat lobster, and they've got the most beautiful white translucent meat, and it's delicious. Barrelfish the same way. I think barrelfish, they just about exclusively eat squid and crustaceans. And same way, but like I was saying about the barrelfish, you pull a barrelfish out, and it's got this long glob of slime and you touch it on the boat, and all day long it's like, KY jelly or something. You just everywhere.
That's
so
crazy.
You go straight from the ocean, straight into the fish box as quick as you can with the barrelfish, and then you'll just see these long globs of slime coming off of it. But the meat, you got to take 10 minutes to wash all the slime off. I scrub it off with a scouring pad and scrub and rinse it with the hose, and then you cut it and you lay the skin over so you don't get any of the slime on the meat. But the meat is just this beautiful white translucent meat.
I'd love to see it, and especially experiment with it too.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful stuff. But you can't get that at the sushi restaurant. Right?
No.
You're not going to get hogfish at the sushi restaurant. You're not going to get wahoo or, any of the fish that we catch around here for fun at the sushi restaurant. You're going to get salmon at the sushi restaurant or something else that isn't even called around here. This guy, Tiger, can not only cook but make sushi out of the fish that we're catching.
His mom just texted me and asked if I enjoyed the food last night. I said I wasn't here. I said, but the senator must have been really happy with it because he had him come in to do a podcast.
I told you
real quick, since your dad's not here to do his job, real quick.
Yep.
When you bring a barrelfish, this is Wikipedia. When you bring a barrelfish into the boat, and the first thing you notice is that they are covered in a thick slime. The slime is a barrier that acts to protect them against parasites and bacteria.
Well, there you go.
Whoa.
There you go. So the slime is good.
I love that.
The slime is good. So just remember that. That's pretty cool. So you're not the first person that was amazed by the slime because there's several different questions in here. And they are rare creatures of the deep.
Oh, now I really got to try one of these now. Y'all are making me very interested in this.
Dude, they're super good.
My buddy's in Florida, and our mutual friend, and hell, he's been on our podcast before.
How do you
But anyway,
prepare 'em?
Nick Stanzik, they love it when they catch them. It's super celebration.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up a picture for you.
Do y'all saute it, grill it, fry it?
Man, I think we cooked it every way. I don't traditionally really high quality fish, I don't fry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be good if you fry it, but I just feel like it's sort of a waste of the fish.
Yes.
I feel like if you fry a really good fish, and so any kind of really good fish we get, hogfish. Of course, I got a recipe for hogfish that's killer.
Okay.
Which I can tell on there right now. I don't mind telling it on there. So basically, what you do with hogfish is you make a batter's the wrong word, like a dry dip.
Yeah.
Okay. So egg wash, and then into a batter of fresh Parmesan cheese, and ground up Captain Crunch, and a little bit of salt and pepper. So egg wash into the batter, both sides, and then fry it, and just pan saute it, fry it until it's nice and brown on both sides. It doesn't have to be done all the way through, but pretty close to being done all the way through, especially if you got a big thick piece. And that Parmesan cheese sort of crusts with that sweet and salty Captain Crunch, and it is, oh my God, it's good. That I will fry a hogfish because of that, and it is so good.
I'm gonna say with that, like you have the lobster residue in the meat, so it's a little bit sweet as it is already, and then just adding that like sweet more texture to it really probably complements that a lot.
Oh man, that's so good. Yeah, I'm looking for that picture, English, when we got into all those barrelfish last year.
So y'all caught multiple?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I think we ended up with. One day we ended up with 8, I think, and the next day we ended up with 4 or 5.
Holy crap! You said it was a rare fish too, so that's
what
impressive.
Well, I've only found them on certain pieces of bottom. You can hit 10 pieces of bottom out in 400 to 800 feet of water, and one of those out of the 10 will have them. And when you get into them, you get into a school of them.
Yeah.
It's like one after another, and then you miss the drift and they're gone. So
So it's a little quick run of it, and then it's over with.
Yeah. That's one.
Talking about the value of these fish, and this is where I love to set people straight on.
So this is a barrelfish?
Yep. That's
so we're talking about a fish that is going to be somewhere in the range of 80 miles to 110 miles offshore. Mm-hmm. You're talking burning somewhere in excess of 150 to 220 gallons on average, I would guess, just depending on the boat, to get there to get them. Then you're talking about the tackle and everything else to catch that fish out there. And then you get back and somebody wants you to just give them a fish. Give me the fish. Yeah. Or we complain about the price of a fish. And the price of deep water fish, unless you're catching them in Florida where they're closer to shore, there's a lot of money involved in catching deep water fish. And the next month and a half will be big because you'll see grouper close here in the next week. And then you'll see the snowy grouper open up, the tile open up, correct? Yeah. Yep. Snowy grouper and tile will be big. And then other deep water species will open up. And that'll be the only choice locally, won't it? Because we'll lose grouper.
Yeah, we'll lose grouper. And check out that snowy right there. That's a beautiful snowy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me see.
The color on that is beautiful.
Now, is that hook and line or is that?
What's the weight on that one?
I don't know what the fish weighed. I would guess that fish is probably 35 pounds.
That's a good size too.
Is he in? Are you in diving attire? Oh, you shot that.
I am in diving attire.
Yeah.
So that lets you know how deep he was.
Oh yeah.
So that's a giant. That's a giant snowy grouper to still have his spots, and that's why I like that picture, because usually as they get bigger, I got some pictures of some others on here that are about that big, and they start to lose their spots, and they just start to look like a cross between.
So what depth were you in? Go ahead and say it.
That's probably 205 foot of water, something like that. But that's a really
that's deep.
But dude, those fish, I mean, they're ice cold.
Yeah.
It's so different from like catching a gag or a scamp in 100 feet of water. Their meat's so different. It's like really firm, especially those big snowies, really firm. And you can catch a snowy that's 40 pounds, and it's just as good as a snowy that's 10 pounds. That's what's great about them.
How long does it take you to get down to the bottom?
What, in 200 feet of water? About 3 or 4 minutes.
So the going down part is not the dangerous part. The coming up is the dangerous.
Yeah, the coming up is what you got to take your time. If you spend 7 let's just say 7 minutes. And this is all an average. Obviously, this is not for consumption. Nobody should try this at home, yada, yada, yada. That's
exactly, yeah.
But if you spend about 7 minutes on the bottom in 200 feet of water, you're going to require about 30 minutes of deco. So 30 minutes to come up.
Holy crap.
So you see that. He's down at the bottom for only 7 minutes to spend 30 minutes coming up.
Yeah, so you're trophy hunting in 200 feet of water. You're not. It's not like if we're in 100 feet of water or in the wintertime, when we used to be able to shoot in January and February, you come into 60, 70 feet of water and shoot a stringer of fish like this, but you're not doing that in 200 feet of water. In 200 feet of water, you're getting up in the water column about 170, 180 feet of water. You're cruising with the current. You're not swimming against the current, down the ledge or across the wreck that you're looking at, and you're waiting on that big, snowy, black, whatever, the giant cubera to pop out of a hole, and you're straight down to him. You shoot him in the head, you grab him, and you pop back up to 150 feet of water to put him on the stringer, and then you're slowly banking your way back up to the top. So you're not hanging around down there in the sand and looking under ledges. You're just waiting on that big one to pop out, because that's the trophy fish.
Yep, and your computer's telling you.
Oh yeah, your computer will. Usually, my computer's usually yelling at me the whole time. Beep beep, warning, warning, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. But you just, you gotta have done it a few times. It's not
a few times.
It's not.
You got to do it a few times. Hey, guys, Will Sprinkles. Hey, you swam with a great white. You are officially qualified. You've been diving 7 times now. You can go to a 200-foot and go chase a snowy.
No, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
No.
That's, yeah. It's a great thing to do, but
You're diving for 7 minutes.
If that, yeah.
Dude, my sex life doesn't last 7 minutes.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
no surprise
7 minutes. Mm-hmm. To spend 30 minutes coming up.
Yeah, that's what's blowing my mind about it, is sitting there 30 minutes with a 40-pound snowy grouper just slowly coming up.
And that's first dive of the day too, right? If it's the last dive of the day, it's more like, if you can even do it. I mean, you might have so much nitrogen built up by then you can't even do it. That's why you usually want to try to start deep first and you work your way in, because your subsequent dives inshore are like your off-gassing, your decompression dives.
What do you mean not do it?
Well, I mean, if you've made 5 dives in 100 feet of water and then you bounce out to 200 feet of water, you've already built up enough nitrogen in your system where you don't have enough time to decompress all that gas off. So you could go to the bottom, no problem, and spend, let's just say, 1 minute, okay? But your computer's going to calculate you got 3 hours of decompression, and you don't have enough gas on your back to get through that 3 hours. So you die.
Wow.
Right? I mean, that's just sort of the way you die. So you got to calculate it just right. And you usually want your deeper dives first, right? You want your deeper dive, your 200-foot dive, if you're doing that, out first, and you build up all your nitrogen then, and then you can go do a 100-foot dive after that, because it's sort of like a decompression. Now you're decompressing all that gas, getting it off of your system. That's why I always start out deep and work your way in if you can.
That's the neighborhood landscaping crew. They're coming to chase me because I use their code to get in the neighborhood. Don't tell anybody.
She's gonna ding that car.
I have their code to get in.
So
when I go to the security machine, I put it in, and I'm like, cover my face so they don't see who it is.
Just put a landscaping hat on.
That's it.
Exactly. So I'm very. I know I've said this about 3 times, but I'm very interested in trying the deep water fish in a sushi environment, but I'd also like to do it in this next. When we open the barn dominium, the barn dominium's grand opening is going to be probably before turkey season, Inglis.
The barn dominium.
The barn dominium. Yeah, so my hunting cabin, for those of you out in Trilogy Outdoor Land,
called the barn dominium.
My hunting cabin is now called a barn dominium. My wife's got a hold of it. And we now have, carpets and shutters and things that now turn it into a barn dominium. But we are going to be opening, the grand opening of the barn dominium and the new farm is going to be sometime before turkey season, and we're going to have Tiger over to do our sushi party.
Oh, wonderful. So between now and then, you don't mind the fish being frozen?
I mean, no, not really. It doesn't really affect me. It just, what it comes down to more or less is kind of what fish you get. It's either you have to be cooked all the way, just to, make sure that it's going to be all right, which I don't mind because I've done, like, ceviches, fried. Honestly, I don't think sushi should be limited to just raw ingredient because I think that there's more to it, especially just being able to enjoy fish in that style. I think there's a lot more that you could do with it.
Well, that's what's great about sushi, right? I mean, you can do any variety you want. And that you don't get tired. We were talking about that last night when Andy was over here. Andy was over here last night, English, and
Yep.
we were saying you just don't ever get tired of sushi because there's so much variety.
Yeah.
There's different fish. There's different ways of preparation. There's different sauces, right? So, and you can do it with rice. You can do it without rice. There's lots of different variety, and you never really get tired of it. So it's a great. And by the way, this time of year, Christmas time of year, everybody is about to eat copious amounts of turkey and steak and stuffing and ham,
Yep.
heavy type stuff. And the last thing I want a week before Christmas at a Christmas party is more turkey, stuffing, and ham.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a great time of year to do a sushi party.
Yep. That was a very smart idea. And I'll tell you what, my whole family, Russ maybe not so much, but he's had it before. But Kinsley loves it. My wife loves it, and I do. I'm not a big wasabi guy. I don't need a lot of spice in it. I'm okay. But I do love the ginger to cleanse your palate between and everything else.
But you don't like wasabi because you haven't had real wasabi yet.
Maybe you're right. So in other words, where you're not just trying to just torture somebody's taste buds with heat. Okay.
I'm still trying to figure
Something
out
with
how to
some
get
flavor.
some fresh wasabi root because it's totally different than what you see at sushi bars and sushi restaurants and like that little wasabi mix. That's just horseradish powder.
Really?
Yeah, it's horseradish powder with a little bit of wasabi flavoring in it, and you just mix it up and it's ready to go. Because if you take like some horseradish and throw it under some hot water, and then take that wasabi and throw it under some hot water, it's same smell, consistency, and everything. It's just a cheaper way of getting a lot of wasabi put out. Because the root, you can get about a root about this big, which is 8 to 10 ounces for $60 to $70, maybe a little bit more. It's very expensive. It takes about 10 years to grow just a single root, and when you get it, it's worth it.
Wow.
It's amazing. It changes it. I've been really wanting to get it because it complements fish with sushi so well that it's something that makes me eat sushi again because I've been working with it for so long that it's hard to get some flavors back again because I'll just eat only sashimi or nigiri. But that real wasabi, it almost makes me crave sushi on a regular basis if I think about the flavors that are behind it. Oh my gosh, it's insane. It's just extremely hard to get the root because you have to order it straight through Japan, and they sell it normally to restaurants in a supply. So it's getting single roots a little tricky at the moment for me. But I'm trying to figure out the best source for it.
So right now, real quick, not getting off subject, you just showed me a game camera picture of a very nice buck. So here's the deal.
Yeah.
Stopped by Black Mingo Venison Processor, talked to them this week. Last night, he just posted a family, 2 kids, the mom and the dad, all harvested 8 points last night, all harvested.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he had another guy harvested 2 8-pointers. Second rut is in. He said they're all stinking, every one of them. He said every buck comes in as stinking, and we're talking about the tarsal glands and all. Do you know much about deer hunting?
Not yet. Okay. I want to get into it. I just don't know any about it yet.
So I heard it termed as second season rut. I've heard it termed as late season rut. But anyway, there apparently are some does that are coming into heat right now that may have not come into heat in the first cycle.
Yeah.
And I've got a picture of a monster on my game camera the last 2 nights. A monster, but he unfortunately is like an hour after daylight. But he is the biggest deer I've ever seen on a deer camera.
Oh, good for you.
Not antler-wise, body-wise.
Are you going?
Doubt it. Too much going on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I might try to go.
But I am going to go feed him. I'm going to go feed him. I'm going to go put some corn out because still have, I call him Gimpy. We have a 6-pointer that is a genetically imperfect deer. And I say that in the sense he does not have, and his genes, his genetic line does not have brow tines. And I don't know why. But they have harvested several of his family members throughout the years, and they all have no brow tine. They have beautiful, beautiful main, what do you call it? Main G1, G2. Is that be right?
Yeah, main beams.
And so, but no brow tine. So, which is weird.
I got that same genetics on my, this deer. This deer's like a tall 1, 2, 3, 4, like a tall 8, but it's got brow tines, but they're small. Most of the deer I have are without brow tines. Most of the mature deer, and almost every mature deer except for this one that's on camera right now at 10:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
Almost every deer this year that I had, shooter deer this year that I had, broke off.
Oh, broke off.
Yeah, they're all broken off. I can see their bodies. I can tell, like, that's the buck I've been watching. He's got a spot right here on his back left. That's the buck that was my target buck. He's got 2 little nubs now where they're broken off. One sharp, one looks like a knife where he's broken off. But and then I had another wide buck that was broken off. Every nice buck I had broke off this year except for that one.
Well, so Gimpy was shot back in late September, and in his left arm, left leg, whatever, front left leg. He was shot, completely missing any vitals, but unfortunately severely wounded him.
Yeah. And
I would say that in the last month, he had gotten down to probably 100 pounds.
Wow.
And in the last 2 weeks, he's put on at least 30 pounds.
Wow.
Nice.
He's still not putting any weight on that leg, and just take series of pictures and put together, you'll never see that leg on the ground.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I found his tracks leaving out of the food plot, and there's only 3 steps. There's only three legs. So but he has avoided the coyotes.
Yeah.
And made it to the stage.
So you think he got past the infection?
We're hoping.
Yeah.
It does look like, and I'll show you a picture. It does look like the infection has gone down, but I'll show you a picture in a minute. But anyway, so we are challenged now with whether to. Well, last year we started a new tradition of running the dogs to kill some does and maybe a buck or 2 for somebody that might be in front of the gun or have a chance to kill the first buck. Now we're challenged with, and Lucas and I have talked about it. I don't. It may happen, but it may not happen if we do it or not. But I said, dude, it would be nice to see Gimpy not get run by the dogs. And I will say that the dogs that we used last year are able to be called off of a deer immediately. If Lucas spots the deer or the dog runner spots the deer and it's not one that we want to shoot, they're able to call the dogs right off the deer, which is good. Mm-hmm. But Gimpy, how are they going to call? I mean, Gimpy's not going to be running. Maybe Gimpy doesn't get up. Maybe he just stays. But he's got to be within real close proximity of my food plot that I have and my feeder. But he's got to be within close proximity to it. So maybe if we put the dogs out on the other side of the property. But I want somebody to kill that big fat beast that's been there the last 2 nights. He looks like a cow that has put on a deer costume to hide.
That's cool. He's got.
It is unbelievable. He is this wide. This deer. I'm sorry. But Gimpy,
cool. Yeah.
Gimpy's gotten a lot better.
Good.
Yeah. So and Lucas agrees. Like he does. Like you can't see ribs anymore. Like we could see ribs and hips. You can see the hips. So I've got to go at some point this afternoon after I take the kids Christmas shopping for Mama, and we got to go put some corn out because with these cold nights ahead, got to feed them. Yep. I've not pulled the trigger, but I don't even want to talk about how much corn I put out. And you're in the same boat. You pulled the trigger though. You did harvest a real nice one.
I killed a nice. It was by accident. I don't know if I ever told the story or not, but
no. You were shooting for a doe and shot the buck.
No. I
was about to say, damn.
We had been hunting that morning, me and my brother-in-law, and when we were done, we went to check the impoundment to see if there were any ducks and to look at the dike and make sure everything was good. And when I was standing at the impoundment, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. Standing at the impoundment, I got a ding on my phone, and I looked, and that nice buck was standing right behind the barn dominium. I've got a corn pile 100 yards from the barn dominium, and he was standing in that corn pile.
Oh, the one back in the woods.
Back in the woods. And I grabbed my gun, and he and I walked back there. We walked right down the trail, walked to the corn pile. He wasn't at the corn pile. I turned right and looked, and he was standing in one of the rows. I picked up my gun, shot freehand, shot him right in the eye, and he dropped right there, maybe 50 yards behind the barn.
Nice shot.
That's awesome.
Well, I wasn't aiming for the eye.
Damn.
He was looking at me, so I was aiming like right underneath his chin right here,
Yep.
and obviously I was standing. I didn't have a great But he was close, and he was about to run, and so, I aimed for right here, and I ended up hitting him right in the eyeball. So didn't waste any meat. Got great.
Yeah.
He's got good shoulders, which is always the problem with that 375 is you're going to blow out one of the shoulders. But right in the head, right in the eyeball, and he just dropped like a sack of potatoes.
Wow, I bet. I don't even want to know what the back of the head looked like.
It was it was a nice buck. I mean, it was a great buck, and he was.
No, it was good looking.
And he was chasing does hard. When we went to drag him out, there were 6 does that were bedded down around him. They had I guess he was herding them all.
Yep.
And when he got shot and went down, they just bedded right down on both. He was in one of the pine rows, and the does were all bedded down around him in the other pine rows. And when we got there, they all flushed out of there.
The love life of a buck.
Yeah. Lucky man.
Chicken. Wow. All right. So listen, somebody wants to have you come over to the house.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how they get in touch with you.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, email, sleepingtigersushi@gmail.com. Got my phone number, 843-503-2022. Yeah, and honestly, about any of those, just message me. I can kind of go over like a menu with you. I like to kind of feel out the customer, see what they like, and trying to integrate some stuff if they want it that they normally eat. If not, leave it up to me, kind of like a Senator did over here. And, I just kind of have fun and do what I think would be best for the night, especially with whatever is local, fresh in at the same time.
And it was very affordable. I was surprised it was very affordable. I was thinking it'd be, I was thinking it'd be a lot of money. It really was not. It was very affordable.
That's good.
Yeah.
And it obviously was a great time. I'm sure everybody had a wonderful time.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, are we probably not going to get together again before Christmas? I doubt it. We're only 3 days away.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, good. Well, we're going to put 2 up. We got 2 great podcasts. We were at Freeman Boat Works last week with the Senator and had a great time with Scott Cothran. Called up and talked to Brent McMullen, so I hope you caught episode 74, 5. I hope you caught episode 75, I think it is. Yeah, 75. I hope you caught episode 75. But anyway, we'll get this one up too. Hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas. Happy New Year. And we'll get to you before the New Year, though. We'll have a New Year. Maybe we'll get a trivia game.
I'll
get to work on that. I'll get to work on that.
Yeah.
That'll be my job. Tiger, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank y'all for
Pleasure
having
to
me.
meet
Seriously,
you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, pleasure to meet you. And listen, y'all, have a wonderful Christmas. Don't forget the real meaning of the season. And we hope everybody has safe travels. And, again, make sure you go check us out at TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. Click like, subscribe, share. Get all your friends on here. We love it. We're looking forward to 2024. Lots of great things, Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo and everything else. But we'll be back next week. We're going to say next week. We're not going to say next year yet. We're going to be back next week. We'll be back before then. And I'm going to find somebody to kick the Senator's butt in trivia, okay? All right, so y'all, don't go anywhere. Hey, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Fins, Fur, and Feathers, right here. Trilogy Outdoors Podcast. Freeman Boat Works and Trilogy Outdoors are proud to announce the addition of Freeman Boat Works to our family of incredible partners. Billy Freeman and his team at Freeman Boat Works epitomize the American dream. From building the first boat in Billy's backyard to a 150,000 square foot state-of-the-art manufacturing plant over the past 15 years, they are building one of the most sought-after boats in the U.S. and beyond. These incredible fishing platforms are built in South Carolina and are second to none in stability, speed, and performance overall. These catamaran designs are engineered not only to get you to the fish fast, but comfortably too. Years of refining designs and pioneering the modern performance fishing catamaran is why Freeman Boat Works is the #1 choice for some of the biggest names in the fishing industry. If it's long runs in the Gulf or the Carolinas, or days you can go fishing in South Florida when most center consoles stay at the dock, Freeman Boat Works is at the forefront in all categories. For more information on Freeman Boat Works and their 6 available models, visit www.freemanboatworks.com. Redefine your expectations. Michelob Ultra and Myrtle Beach wholesaler Southern Crown Partners Incorporated know our consumers enjoy relaxing days on the water with Mich Ultra's crisp and refreshing taste in hand. It's important to remember to drink and boat responsibly. Choose to be or to designate a sober skipper before leaving the dock. Do it for your family and friends, your passengers, and everyone else on board. Michelob Ultra salutes all sober skippers who take the pledge. Cheers, and we'll see you on the water.
Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.